Hello, my name is Doug Leisure. Thank you for joining me for this video training for Sage Budgeting and Planning, another one in the Getting Started series. Today we'll be looking at using the Basic Budgets Wizard. A couple resources that are available to you. If you look in the CD, the installation CD that you downloaded, there are the 4 folders there. And in the PDF folder, the document there that you care about is one that's named Sage Budgeting and Planning User Guide. So the user guide is literally hundreds of pages of documentation on how to use this software. A very helpful thing. And also available to you is the option to call the Sage technical support, and the contact information is shown here. Okay, this training video will pick up where the other one left off. So you've already installed the software, configured it for your specific general ledger software. And now we're ready to look at automatically building some plans using the Basic Budgets Wizard. So one of the things that will be helpful to understand is the standard demonstration data. What does that look like? So let's go ahead and take a look at how that is created, and some information that you'll need to understand about that. The first is the chart of accounts, how it's designed. So it's made up of 4 segments, 4 characters, 3, 3, and 2. Now the first segment is the main account. Some people call that the natural account. The second segment is the location. So there we'll see corporate, North America, South America, Europe, and Asia. The third segment would be the departments. So corporate sales, marketing, graphic design, facilities, IT, and admin. The fourth segment then is the product line: mouse pads, pens, glassware, clothing, gift sets, other. The sales and cost of sales accounts use the product line designation. But for everything else, like salaries and all of the expenses, segment 4 is always hard-coded to 00. When looking at the budget sheets that are created, the plan sheets we call those, you'll notice that they're designed with a range of accounts for revenue, the cost of goods sold. So the sales or the revenue would be all the 4,000s. Cost of goods sold would be the main account, 5,000. Salaries would be the 6,000s, expenses the 7s and 8s. So that's kind of the way the sheets will be laid out based on the main or the natural account. Okay, the next part of it you need to think about would be the organizational structure. So one way to design your organizational structure would be where you're doing it by department, or aggregating the various departments together. So if you did it in that methodology, you would have the sales department. Within sales would be all of the various locations: corporate, North America, South America, Europe, and Asia. And then you'd go on to the next department, marketing, and and also have all of the various locations under that. So that's one methodology. Another methodology would be to do this by location, and that's one we're going to actually follow. So we're going to do the North America location. Within North America, you'll see the department sheets: sales, marketing, graphic design, facilities, and IT. And then we'll go on to the next location, South America, and read also have plan sheets for each of those various departments. And then the other small thing to understand about the standard demonstration data is the fiscal information. So it uses a standard calendar year, January through December. And if we look at the historical information that's available, we have data through about 2006. Yeah, it's a little bit old, I get that. So that means we're going to go ahead and budget for fiscal year 2007. All right, let's go ahead and launch the software. And what we're going to start with is by selecting Plans. Then from there we can use the menu item Plan and create basic budgets. Okay, this is a little wizard that walks through creating some basic budgets for us. And screen 1 here shows us the steps it's going to perform. Screen 2 shows us a list of the available basic budgets that we can select from, one or all of them. And if we want to see some details about that as we click our way down through these available budgets, it shows us over here a description of what is entailed within each budget. And if we want to see even more details about that, including screenshots, click on the button here that says Details of Resulting Budget. That'll pop up a little screen that gives us a lot more information than about what this particular budget would look like, how it's designed, screenshots of how it's laid out, etc. Okay, while we can do multiples for our demo today, we're just going to use just one. So let me unselect these and keep the baseline amounts with global assumptions. This is the budget we're going to select. Now, when you get around to using this, you may find that there are other additional budgets that are available. Sage is going to be adding to these on a fairly regular basis, so I'd expect you'll see additional ones over time. But let's go ahead and run it for the baseline amounts with global assumptions. So selecting that, we'll go ahead and click Next. And now it wants to know what is our main or our natural account. And you can see that it already determined that main was probably the correct one and selected that, so we're good to go from there. Now we need to identify the segment breakdown. And so as we discussed, we want to start with location, and then within the location break it down to the various departments. So we're going to select location as the first, breakout, department as the second. And over on the right hand side we're seeing then a sample of what that would look like. All right, having made those selections, we'll go on and do the next. And now it gives us some options that some options or properties we can fill in. The first part is how it's going to prefix every one of the new plans that it will create. So since we can create multiples, it'll do prefix of budget plan. I'm going to go ahead and change this just so you can see what that looks like. So if I just use BUD as the prefix, then the sample would be that it's going to create BUD 01, BUD 02, BUD 03, etc. All right, we'll go ahead and leave it as the prefix as BUD and move on now to the budget base date. Again, I mentioned that our data, historical data, goes through year 2006. So that means we're going to be budgeting for fiscal year 2007, which begins on January 1st of 2007. So let's just use the ellipse, the lookup, they call that icon, to look up the date. And this little screen that they give us makes it pretty easy to move through the various years and choose January 1st of 2007 as our budget base date. Final thing is to select the budget code. Okay, and the ellipse will do a lookup and show us what's available. Now in the standard data, plan is the code that's available. If you're using one of the other general ledgers like 100, I would expect that you would have original and revised as your codes that are available to you. If you're using Sage 300 perhaps, then I would expect your budget codes are 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. All right, we'll go ahead and leave the budget code as plan and go on to the next. And now we're going to fill in and define the section ranges based on the natural account for each of our sections: revenue, cost of goods sold, expenses, and salary. All right, I know that our range for the revenue starts at 4,000. That's fine, but it goes through 4079. Okay, now if this is a nice contiguous range like it is in our case, we're done. But if it's non-contiguous and we need to actually identify multiple ranges for revenue, you do have the option to add a range. So if we needed to pick up again at 4500 through 4999 perhaps, that allows you to define two ranges. You could do 3, 4, 5 ranges, whatever is necessary. So just be aware that you can do multiple ranges within this tool. Okay, but for us, ending at 4079 is correct. So we'll just click here and go on to the cost of goods sold. And again, that is correct at 5,000, but it ends at 5079. Expenses. Expenses start at 7,000, but they really end at 8899. So I'll go ahead and just enter that. And finally for the salary, beginning at 6,000, that's correct, but it ends at 6,299. All right, so we filled in all of the appropriate ranges for our sections, and now we're ready to move on. In fact, we are on the last screen, so we're going to click the Finish button, and it'll let it go ahead and generate the plan and all of the plan sheets within that. We can see that it generated our plan called Bud 01, and it created all of the plan sheets and the organizational structure that we needed, as well as automatically creating the templates that are used to design and define each of the plan sheets within the plan tree. Bud 01 is an interesting name, but it may not be that helpful for you in your environment. So I just wanted to make you aware that it's very simple to change these plan names. If we select, first of all, the Bud 1, then over here in the detail pane, select Bud 01, the plan here, we can look at the properties of our plan. And here we can see that the plan key is Bud 01 and its description. And you're free to change these here. So if we're doing this for fiscal year 2007, we might want to actually name it 2007 budget, and then the appropriate description. Just a quick note, the plan key, anytime you see a key within the software, this is the short and geeky key, which means it does not allow for spaces or other special characters. So short and geeky is the best way to describe it. All right, for our demo here, I don't want to change the name. I'll just leave it the same. So we'll leave it as Bud 01, but again, very easy for you to change that. Okay, now I understand that for some of the customers there, that what we've created by using the basic budgets, that's all you really need. And you are going to be all set to start doing your budgeting. But I also understand that for some of the customers, that you're going to be wanting to make changes to your plan. That what was designed is close, but you need some modifications. So please keep in mind that this software is far more capable than what we are showing in these basic budgets that were created using the wizard. Remember that the user guide is available to help you learn about these additional capabilities, but it might be necessary for you to receive instructor-led training and or get consulting assistance to create the budget methodology that fully meets your needs. Okay, well, let's go ahead and work our way through making some adjustments to the plan so you can see how that would work and how easily that can be done. So the first thing that I think would make a lot of sense would be to make adjustments to the global assumption. So let's go ahead and open that up and take a look at this. Now, just a little note here, but if this is truly the very first time you've launched the software, then you'll notice that the software supports or implements what it calls a check-in, check-out process. So just like when you go to a library and Mary checks out a book because she wants to take it home and read it, okay, I can't get the book and read it until she has checked it back in again. Once she has checked it in, then it's available for me to check it out and take it home and read it. So it's that same kind of a methodology. So it wants to know, do we want to check out this sheet so that we can make changes to it? And I can click yes here and it'll check it out. But I just wanted to show you a little trick that I think makes a lot of sense. And that is utilize the option here that they give us that says automatically check out the sheets when I try to open them. So basically, go ahead and check it out. Just stop asking. Just do it automatically for me. So we'll go ahead and turn that option on and then go ahead and say yes to check it out. On the flip side of that, when I close the sheet, it's going to ask, do you want to check it back in again? Okay, not only do I want to do that, but again, let's ask the software to automatically implement that for us without asking. All right, now we're ready to really get started. Let's open the global assumption sheet and make some changes. So the very first thing that I think makes a lot of sense to look at would be the default percentages that are built into the template that was created, that basic budget template. And so our revenue increase is 3.5%. Let's go ahead and make some changes to these. So for the revenue increase, we'll go ahead and just come here and we'll say that we really want it to be 3.25%. Yes, and our cost of goods sold, that's really going to be 1.25%. So we're going to just make these small changes. Salary will be 2.5, and our other expenses like G&A expenses will be just 2%. Okay, so that's a pretty obvious change that I think you would want to make an adjustment to that. Another small adjustment that we might want to consider is looking here at some of our spreading methodologies, how we take an annual budget and spread it across the various periods. So one of the methodologies they have built into this template is the idea of spreading by work days. And if we look at January, it's been calculated to have 23 work days. Basically, the formula it's using here, the days function that it's using, actually returns the number of days in the month minus the weekends, ignoring both Saturday and Sunday. So that's how it computes it. So it's really the number of weekdays in a month. So if we wanted to turn this into a true work days per month, the small thing we want to add to it would be the concept of adding in holidays. So let's go ahead and take a look at doing that. So the first thing I think we want to do is we want to go ahead and add a new row. So we're going to go ahead and just right click on that row number and choose the menu item row and then insert. And let's go ahead and just type in holidays here for the description. Okay, now that we have a row for entering holidays, let's go ahead and enter the appropriate holiday. So in the US, we typically have a day off for January, a holiday for January. And then another one in May, in July, September, 2 in November, and another one in December. Okay, so we have the holidays, and we have the appropriate number of holidays per month entered. Now let's make an adjustment to the formula that computes our work days per month. So all we really need to do to this is just simply subtract the number of holidays in January. And now you can see it calculated 22 work days in January. All right, so let's take this new formula that we've created and go ahead and just, the software calls it fill to the right. So we're going to take that formula and fill that formula to the right through February, in the periods February through December. All right, and we can see that it made all the correct adjustments. All right, I think we're done with some adjustments to the global assumption sheet. It's looking pretty good, so we're ready to save that and move on. Save it and go ahead and close it down. All right, the next thing we want to look at would be making some changes to the department sheets themselves. So I'll go ahead and open up the department sheet, and that has the name Department Income Statement Template. So let's go ahead and open that. So this is what our template looks like. It has the structure that's required to create each one of our department sheets in a format that looks like an income statement. Revenue, cost, net revenue, salaries, G&A expenses, overall G&A total, overall total expense, and then calculating a net profit or loss. All right, if we look at the sections and the way they're defined, we can see based on, and this comes right off of what we set up when we were going through the wizard. Our revenue is a 4,000 through 4079. You can see question marks in the second and third segments, location and department, because these will be filled in later on when we tell it to create our sheets for department 200 and for location 200 and department 300. It'll replace question marks at that time. So the interesting part here is how it deals with the fourth segment, and so it hard-coded a range there, 00 through 99. That is all possible values. Now that makes perfect sense for revenue and the cost of goods sold, because we know from our understanding of the demonstration data that's where it uses the product lines or the product categories in those two sets of data. But for the salaries and the expenses, it never uses anything other than 0, 0 in the fourth segment. So I think it makes sense, even though what we have here is correct, I think it makes sense to go ahead and make a small change here to the salary and then also to the expenses. So we're just going to double click on the salary section and then click on the button to define the range. Now the from value is perfectly fine. We just need to modify or adjust the through value. So we're going to go ahead and type in the 6299 question marks for the second and third segment. And then instead of 99, we'll just enter 00. And then in a similar way, we'll modify the expenses. Define ranges. And 8899 question marks. And the fourth segment is through 00. OK, and OK again. Okay, those are the changes we want to make to the section manager. Go ahead and close down that screen. And actually, those are all the changes I want to make in the template itself. Of course, you're free when you're doing this in your live environment to make whatever changes necessary to the template. All right, let's go ahead and save this and move on to the next part. So in looking at the tree structure that it created, we see that it created some default names for everything. I think I'm okay with the sheet key. So here we can see, for instance, location 100 and department 200. I think I'm okay with a key. I'm just not sure that the description is the best that it can be. Okay, understanding that location 100 is really North America and that department 200 is really marketing, I think a better description would say location NA for North America, department marketing, and then the word details. I think that would be a better description. So I want to suggest that we make those kinds of changes. So we're going to go to the department template again. And what we're going to do now is click on the button that it uses called Define Derivative Sheets. This is the list of every sheet, the definition, if you will, of every sheet that's going to be created from this template. Okay, so those are the sheet keys, sheet descriptions, and this is what I think we want to change. And if we look over here on the far right, you can see these are the values that it's using to replace the question marks in our sections. All right, again, I mentioned that if we looked at if we looked at location 100, department 200, that I think a better way to name this, location NA, and then department marketing. Okay, so I think this is a better, cleaner way to name everything. So I'm going to suggest we go ahead and do that to all of our various descriptions. I'll give you a minute to complete that. Okay, now that is complete, we're ready to save this definition for the template and exit. All right, our final step now that we've modified both the derivative definition and the template definition itself, our other step is to what's called regenerate, or more accurately, recreate all of the plan sheets that were originally created from this one template. We're going to recreate them. And we're going to recreate them in the same position that they are currently set in our plan tree. All right, and the way we're going to do that is go ahead and select the department income statement template. And this time we'll use the other icon, the Generate from Template icon. All right, since we're going to redo everything, we'll use the shortcut key here, the icon, to just simply select them all. And yes, you do have an option here to refresh the calculations on every sheet as well, but we're gonna hold that off till a later step. So all we want to do right now is just regenerate, and then down towards the bottom, we're going to select the option to replace the derivatives and retain the sheet security. Replacing the derivative just simply means deleting what's there and recreating a fresh copy from our new template. So that's the option we want to use. We'll click on the OK and let it go ahead and begin generating, or actually, again, recreating every one of our sheets. All right, that didn't take very long, but it has completed it, so we can just close this little screen. Okay, so if we take a look at one of the sheets, we'll go ahead and open up the sales sheet for location 100. I can see that within the various sections, it created the right range of accounts. Everything looks like it's designed correctly, but I notice everything's still 0. And that's because this is a fresh copy of the plan sheet from the template, but we did not yet refresh the calculations, that process of filling in the historical data from the general ledger. And if we look at any of our roll-up or summary sheets, in a very similar way, those are all blank as well. So we want to do the process now of filling in our historical data and the changes we made to the global assumptions, filling all of this in to the plan sheets. And that's what they call refreshing the calculations. And we want to do it everywhere in all of our sheets. So we're going to use a process that works across the entire plan. And that's what the software refers to as plan processing. So let me start by selecting our highest level plan sheet right here, our summary. And then we can use the Management Plan Processing option. And the little screen that pops up here has many tabs to it because it actually can be used for a lot of different things. It's very powerful. But the part we want to focus on today for this, for what we're trying to accomplish here, is the Processing tab. Okay, what we want to do is ask the software to consolidate our plan sheets. So this is from the bottom of the tree up into the roll-up sheets and then on up into our summary sheet. That's called the consolidation. But before it consolidates, we wanted to refresh the calculations in the plan sheet. So it'll refresh those calculations, bringing in the external historical data from the general ledger data, as well as the data in the global assumptions. Apply all of that. The cell formulas will recalculate, producing budget amounts, and then save those plan sheets and take the results and flow them up or consolidate them up through the tree structure. And the last thing is another little check mark here that says, and if our top level sheet has any calculations defined in it, the calculation engine, then please refresh those calculations in that sheet after everything else is done. So again, just these 3 check marks are what we would use. And now we can go ahead and ask it to go ahead and run this process. And we'll give it some time to complete. Okay, it looks like it's done, so let's close this and see what things look like now that it's completed the processing. All right, if we go back to North America again and look at the sales plan sheet, now we can see that the data has been filled in. We have historical actuals, and we've also calculated our new year budget. And if we look at the roll-up sheets for all of North America, we can see the same information aggregated or consolidated into a P&L for the entire location of North America. And in a similar way, our company-wide summary is an aggregation or consolidation in the P&L format. All right, looks like everything's working, and you should be now prepared to use this plan for your regular budget cycle. Now, the details and steps of going through that is something that I will cover in a follow-up video training session. All right, until next time.